How about this? How about this? I'm not even gonna say what I said in the beginning because mic tech problems. Sorry about that, you guys. And of course, there's a little bit of a delay from YouTube to me, so it took me a minute to see your comments. I apologize about that, but here I am. Here I am. So welcome to March 2026 Get Crackin' on Christmas. I host this initiative each month all year long. I always post my cards on the third Thursday of the month. And within that post, I'm sharing my project with you guys, but I'm also sharing when I plan to go live. That changes month to month depending on schedules and what fits in to life. But I always share my card on that third Thursday of the month. And then you guys can kind of see when I'm going to go live. And you can head on over here to YouTube and tap the bell so you'll be notified and reminded when I go live. This is a fun initiative I've been doing for several years now. I actually really enjoy sending holiday cards out to my friends and family. It's something that I enjoy. I think those that get my cards enjoy. But there was a couple years where I was so busy in the fall, and then before you know it, you're getting ready for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. And I just didn't have time to make enough holiday cards. I personally don't like to come up with just one design and mass produce it. I get bored doing that. So yeah, I was frustrated. I purchased all these really cute holiday stamps and dies. We already know my addiction to snowflakes and snow people. So yeah, I was just frustrated. And I decided I'm going to start making holiday cards every month throughout the year. So is it a little awkward as we get into those really nice summer months? Sure. But you know what? It inspires me to do brighter colors, to do beachy holiday cards. And I really enjoy the process of creating a new card every month and not feeling rushed, not feeling like I have to do this. It's like definitely more fun. I go shopping through my supplies. I keep a bin of my holiday products that I haven't used yet. So I shop through that bin first, and then I look through my other stuff and see what will coordinate. And yeah, there's some months that maybe I'm doing similar techniques that I just enjoy, but then there's other months where I feel like I have the time to really explore and try new things. Now, March is a very, very busy month for me. I know many of you guys know I just finished up. A very large in-person event. It's called Crop on the Cape. Over 300 people attend. We had several different classes throughout the weekend, people working on their own projects. We also had a ton of different vendors on site selling lots of crafty goods. And it's just a very busy month. So that was just 2 weekends ago. It feels like it was yesterday. And so last week was really recovery week for me. I was very, very slow motion. And I've shared with you guys, many of you wonder when I make my Get Crackin' card, if I'm posting it on the third Thursday of the month, when am I actually making the card? Once in a while, I might get it done a few days ahead of time. And this month, I was literally finishing it on Wednesday night. I needed to wait for things to dry to photograph it. So I didn't photograph it until Thursday morning and then posted that day. So it just happens. But what I was getting at is this month's card, I think because my brain couldn't give much more. It's a very simple card, but I absolutely love how it came out. And I hope it inspires you guys. The other thing for Get Crackin' on Christmas, I really stress to you, you don't need to have the specific supplies that I have. I would just look at your supplies and see what you might have that you can do a similar technique with. And we'll talk about that as we go. So thank you so much. I see a bunch of you guys in the chat with me live today. I really appreciate that. And if you are catching me on replay, that's awesome too. Feel free to give me a comment on this video as well. Okay, so let me, before I flip the camera, I want to just quickly remind you guys, I am hosting my Creative Journey Art Retreat live virtually the first weekend in June. And registration for this is going to be closing very soon. It's going to be closing March 30th. So if you have not already registered, now is your reminder. Now is your time. I see Amarita in the chat. She missed my pre-order of crafty gear that I just closed and reminded you guys of that as well. Life happens. But you don't want to miss out on this event. We are going to be creating 13 different cards. You can see some little sneaky peekies up there. I'm trying to figure out which way to point. Some little sneaky peekies up there. There are some exclusive items in this event that have not been released yet, which is super exciting. And we are going to do some whimsical cards, some artsy cards, and some in-between cards. So some of it might get you out of your creative comfort zone, and I actually think that's really good to do. It might not necessarily be your most favorite technique, but I think it will inspire you to put a spin on it in your style. All of the amazing sponsors that are posted there all help make this event happen. You're going to get over $200 worth of product in your retreat box. You're going to get card kits, so there is no homework. And you are going to get, again, 2 full days of tutorial videos, whether you take them live with me or you take them at your own pace down the road. That works as well. You get downloadable handouts, coloring guides, all kinds of resources. It's a really, really fun event. So I only host this once a year. Definitely register. And again, if you can't make it live the first weekend of June, it's a great rainy day project, or pull it out and do 15 minutes here or a half an hour here. It's just great to have some guidance and get those creative juices flowing. So, and Brian says she means at least 13, possibly more. Well, I definitely know this time it's just 13 because kidding is already happening. So it is only 13 cards this time only, but it fluctuates. I always promise 12 cards, but it always fluctuates. All right, let me flip the screen for the reason why you guys are here today for Get Crackin' on Christmas. And so this is the Frosty Forest card that I created for this month's card. And I love it. I love it so much. And I really hope that you will see just how easy it comes together. And I know many of you are not going to be surprised. It's rocking my Distress watercolor pencils. I'm obsessed with them. I love them so much. And they're just not going away, you guys. They are not going away. And then we've got some yummy goodness down here. This is Distress Snowflakes, and we will talk about that at the end. All right. So the star of the show is this Honeybee Stamps Watercolor Pines stamp set. And the reason why I mentioned you definitely don't need exactly what I am creating with. What I would encourage you to do is shop your stash, and you want to find stamps, and you can make non-holiday cards if you're not in the mood to do holiday cards. I totally get it. But look for stamps that have solid images, textured images. And so this set was really fun because it gave me a variety of different pines to work with. All right. There is a coordinating die set. I didn't use it in this case, but it is there. which is nice, a nice possibility. And then for the sentiment, I am using this Bitty Buzzwords Holidays. And this is a Jenn alert. I do just want to mention that this set is on sale right now because they are going to be retiring it. And I actually have used this set multiple times on Get Crackin' on Christmas cards. And what I love about it is it has a nice bold sentiment and then all these little sentiments that you can mingle with it. And I love to do that on cards. I love to have a bold sentiment with little words mingled in. So I definitely think this is a good one to have in your stash. I think it's kind of classic. You're going to use it over and over again, and it can go on many different styles of cards. Thank you so much, Miss Brienne. Always in the chat, linking up all the things for us. I love that so much. All right, so we're going to start by grabbing some Distress watercolor cardstock. This is my most favorite watercolor cardstock. The only one that I ever use when I am watercoloring. All right. And I am going to go ahead and put this in my Misty because I am going to do a little bit of repetitive stamping. All right. So let's go ahead and grab one of our pines, one of our trees. So I saw Miss Libby was in the chat too. I was actually just texting with them and Shari, and my hands are all inky. I was in full on distress spray mode like 15 minutes before coming live. I had to quickly clean off my table and regroup my thoughts. Oh, actually, before we're going to stamp the trees, we got to put a little background down. See, I'm already forgetting what I did. But anyways, so bear with me as I am a bit flustered and get into the groove here. So the first thing that I did for this card is I just created a little bit of color and texture in that sky area. I didn't want it to be bold or, you know, take away from the scene. So what I did is I'm actually going to use just a piece of plastic. I like that it's a pliable plastic so I can easily kind of roll it like this, and it like, you know, I'm not bending it by creasing it, but it bends very easily. And what we're going to do is take the speckled egg Distress watercolor pencil, and I'm going to dip it into my cup of water. Yeah, I love the Believe. That is also really pretty. All right, and what I'm doing is dipping my Distress watercolor pencil into a cup of water to soften the pigment, and then I'm rolling it on its side on the sheet of plastic. So I'm not holding it up like a pen and drawing because not much will come off. I'm really rolling it. And what's nice about Distress watercolor pencils is that they are woodless pencils, meaning they're not encased in wood. This is just a label. So it's all pigment, and it makes it really easy for techniques like this where you are dipping the pencil into the water. All right. Then I'm going to use my Distress sprayer and just add a little bit more water to get it really nice and fluid on this piece of plastic. And then we're going to go ahead and flip. Some of it might drip. I'm not going to freak out. And we're just going to take this piece of plastic, roll and plop, and get some of that pigment to lay down. And I'm really just concentrating it on the top half of my card because that's going to be the sky. Okay. And you will see we've got lines. Okay. And I know it's a light color, but you'll see we've got lines. I don't worry about that. What I do is I take my Distress sprayer and I'm toggling the spray nozzle. So I'm not pulling it down all the way to get a fine mist. I'm toggling it so it drips some water out. I actually kind of say it spits. I don't know if Tim wants me to say that his distress sprayer spits, but that is honestly the best description of it. Okay. And so now that I have one layer here, I am going to take my Ranger heat tool and I'm going to go ahead and dry it. And as I dry it, I'm moving that water and that pigment around. Now, using the the Ranger heat tool is by far easier and better than an embossing gun because it's a diffused heat, meaning it's spreading the heat out. It's not like a targeted heat. And I don't need to worry about burning my paper, scorching my paper. I can keep the heat tool in one spot for a long time and it's not going to ruin my paper. Also, since it's a diffused heat, it's not really like pushing that pigment around, right? It's not forcing it into different areas. It's just drying it. You'll notice I'm also lifting up my Distress Watercolor cardstock. That way the heat is going through the paper, bouncing off my table, and also heating it from behind. And this will help things dry a bit faster. I'm going to get it mostly dry. I'm not going to worry about it getting completely dry. Some of these pockets of water are going to take a little bit longer. But we want to go ahead and do a second layer. Yeah, Tracy says, look at that clean water. I know, I just cleaned it this morning because I had plans for doing other things. All right, so I'm dipping my pencil in the water again. I'm rolling it onto my piece of plastic, adding some more pigment, and we're going to do just one more layer. You can do as many layers as you would like, but I do want to keep this texture pretty subtle. All right. So I just added my Distress sprayer just to give it some more fluidity. That was a hard word, but giving it more flow. All right. And again, I'm just kind of rolling. I have my plastic like this against my watercolor cardstock, rolling and kind of plucking it here and there. And I don't really worry what the pigment looks like right after I do that because I know I can go in with my Distress sprayer, toggle the sprayer, and kind of break up some of those shapes so they won't look like lines or they won't look like puddles. And that will also help things move around as I'm drying it. Now, even using watercolor cardstock, it's just natural that the cardstock is going to want to bend a little bit. So you can see I'm just kind of bending it the opposite way. I'm not creasing it. I'm just bending it the opposite way. So that way all the pigment isn't settling on those edges. All right. I could do this all day, you guys. I just find this so relaxing, so fun. The Distress watercolor pencils are translucent, so you can do multiple colors with this technique, which is super fun as well. If you're interested in the Distress watercolor pencils, or you have purchased them and you haven't really played with them yet, I have a ton of content on my website, but I also would encourage you to check out my Distress technique class. I have a part 1 and a part 2 focused all on the Distress watercolor pencils. And you don't have to do them in order, but I do recommend doing part 1 first because it really just goes over the fundamentals of them. And then part 2 was just sharing even more techniques that I have been enjoying with them. And I definitely see there will be a part 3. I don't know exactly when, but the more I play with them, the more I'm thinking of ways to share with you guys of things you can do with them. So, all right. Almost dry. I'm going to actually flip it over and dry from the back a little bit. Let's see. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. Ink and Whimsy says, hi, Jen. Do you know the stamps you'll be using for the rest of the Get Crackin' on Christmas year? That if we were interested, we could purchase the stamp sets you'll be using in the future. So I really don't. This is a fun initiative that I like to kind of keep very relaxed for my creative brain. I teach a lot of classes in person and online where I need to have structure and I need to plan things ahead of time and pick what I'm going to use ahead of time. So Get Crackin' on Christmas is something, to be very frank, is something I first do for me, so that I have enough holiday cards to send to my friends and family. But secondly, I'm sharing it with you to hopefully inspire you to also create. But I kind of shared at the beginning of this video, I honestly sometimes don't pick what I'm going to create until like the weekend before. So I don't have a list, but I will just say that you can always go back to my previous Get Krackens on Christmases, see which ones inspire you, and you could purchase the products from that specific one, right? Let's see. Yuko says, I'm sure I do it wrong. Well, that's not true. There's no wrong in the crafty art world. Sometimes I just blot out the puddles with Kleenex and I like the look it offers too. I'm lame, I know. Well, you're not lame. If you like the look of that, definitely do that. But I would encourage you, the mermaid in me would encourage you to use your flour sackcloth, Yuko, and not disposable Kleenex, because then less waste in the world, and your flour sackcloth you can use over and over. And even if I took this and blotted on my very light colored project right now, even though this looks dirty, none of this will transfer onto here. So, all right. Yay. Amarita loves the distress technique classes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hello, Nikki. Okay. So we have a little bit of a background going. I know it is very, very light in color. That's the beauty of speckled egg. But now we're going to go ahead and start to build our trees. So I'm going to start with evergreen bough. Now, if your clear stamps are brand new and you're doing this technique, I really recommend rubbing them with your hands just to get some of your oils on them. If you're new to this technique, working with red rubber stamps, it holds the pigment a lot better than clear stamps, but you definitely can make clear stamps work. You just kind of have to work a little bit harder, which that's okay sometimes, right? So I'm dipping in my evergreen bough distress watercolor pencil, and I am again rolling it on its side to add pigment all over the stamp. And if you guys have newer distress watercolor pencils, you may need to leave them in the water a little bit longer to get those juices marinating. My distress watercolor pencils are very loved, so it doesn't take as long that I need to dip it into the water. Okay, so we have a lot of pigment here on the tree, and I am going to gently press down my misty cover. I don't want to press hard because there's so much extra pigment. I don't want to lose the shape of the stamp. If I press hard, some of that pigment is going to kind of roll off the edges, and I'm going to lose the shape of this tree. So I'm barely touching, but I'm kind of giving it like dainty fingers all over. Okay, I'm going to pick up my tree, and I can see obviously some of the tree I missed. So I'm actually going to take my distress watercolor pencil, add a little bit more pigment down that side, and then we can go ahead and go back. Okay. There we go. Look at that. So pretty. And the other thing that we can do is we can take our paintbrush and picked up some of this pencil and go ahead and add in some more, right? I can see a shadow starting to form on the right side. So let's make that a little bit more extreme by adding some more pigment. And I'm just dabbing my paintbrush with more of that Evergreen Bow Distress watercolor pencil. Okay. Clean my brush. It's nice and damp, but not drippy. And we can kind of just blend it out a little bit. And I just think this is so fun. It's never going to look the same, you know, multiple times. So if you do want to mass produce this card, then, you know, nobody's going to have two cards that look alike. That is for sure. All right, so I just added a little water to my stamp and I'm wiping it clean. And then what I want to do is actually dry this first tree. I'll put my stamp back. So I'll go ahead and take this out. And again, I'm going to use that Ranger heat tool to dry it. This way I'm not going to have any issues again with it blowing the pigment too hard out of the lines. I'm not going to burn my paper. Somehow I got a little drip of Evergreen Bow up here. And so I'm just going to take some clean water to it and kind of wash it out. It looks like a line right now. And so by washing it out like this, at least I won't see a line. Again, lifting up that watercolor cardstock so that it will bounce off the table and heat from behind will help it dry a lot faster. All right. Yuko says, oh yes, I purchased a flower sackcloth at the last art retreat. She's pulling it out now thanks for the reminder. Hey, any little bit I can do to help our planet, I will do. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and pick another tree. And I am going to layer it over the one we just did. Place it. I am kind of creating a little bit of a line here for a ground. We'll get into that in a little bit. And again, if this is a new stamp, just rub it with your finger just to kind of get that film off from brand new manufacturing. And it'll help kind of hold your pigments a little bit better. All right. So now what I'm going to do, let's take a little bit of Rustic Wilderness, roll it onto the stamp. I don't really remember which colors I used where on my original card, but that's okay. I could have jotted it down, but I actually really like to just kind of switch it up during these lives a little bit. Okay. And then let's go ahead and take just a little bit of Lucky Clover and add some of that in here. All right. And so we'll start by stamping. Now you'll see before I'm stamping, my stamps are very, very juicy. They're very, very wet. So I'm not misting them with water. If yours aren't that wet, you could add a little bit of water with your distress sprayer. But I would try to kind of get as much wetness from the pigment that you can instead of adding more water, because your stamp might move on you. You might, you know, I just feel like it's more problematic than it's worth. Okay. So I actually like this. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to add any more pigment to the stamp. But I am going to just take my brush, just kind of bring some of this pigment out a little bit. Again, utilizing what our stamp did for us, what our pigment did for us, we can kind of enunciate those lights and darks, right? All right, clean off my stamp. I just sprayed some water and I'm wiping it with my flower sackcloth. I'll go ahead and put that stamp back. And then we will go ahead and dry this layer with the Ranger heat tool. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If you're with me live today or even on replay, let me know if you're working on anything crafty or if you're working on your holiday cards all year long. I would love to know. If you are working on your Get Crackin' on Christmas cards throughout the year and you share them on social media, definitely tag me, share them with me as you're creating. I love to see what you're working on. Thank you so much, Amarita. Appreciate it. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do another tree. And I'm going to get a new piece of Best Ever Craft tape. I think my other one is leaving a mark. It's a very loved piece. So anytime I take a new piece off the roll, I do touch it to my skin just to take one more little layer of sticky away. All right, so next we are going to do another tree. This one I'm going to actually put up a little higher. Can always play with what the ground looks like, so don't feel like they all have to be in a row. And I'm going to actually start with Cracked Pistachio, which is a really, really light green. So we're not going to really see it overlapping as much, but it'll look like it's kind of behind the tree that it's next to. So I'm going to lay some of this down on the stamp. And I want to use another green too, but another way that you can do it, instead of mixing both of them in this initial pigment laying down, we can kind of stamp with this one color, right? Give it gentle presses. Pick it up. And then we can add a little bit more of another color. So I'm going to add a little bit of pine needles. And then I'm going to add even more cracked pistachio. So we kind of got a base down of the cracked pistachio. Since it's a lighter color, I didn't want it to be overpowered too much. Yay, thanks, Brienne. She linked my Creative Chick Studio Share Facebook group. That's a fun group to be part of, and you can definitely share your Get Crackin' on Christmas cards in there. We love to see them. I'm just kind of moving the drips around a little bit, trying to decide if I'm going to do another layer or what. Again, there is no right or wrong way to this at all. Let's see. Hi, Annette. Popping in to say hi. I'm working and we'll watch replay. Thanks for popping in to say hi. Love that there's a replay. Nanette, we have an Annette and a Nanette, says, I do work on holiday cards throughout the year. I too don't like to mass produce at all. I generally only do a couple of the same. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do as well. You know, by the time I do my live, and some months, depending on the card that I'm sharing with you guys, it might lead me to do a small set, like of 2 or 3. But it just all depends what I'm inspired to do, right? So here I'm just using a wet brush that has a decent amount of water on it, dabbing it to kind of move those pigments around. And even though I stamped over this tree, I'm not really adding any more of that cracked pistachio there because I kind of really want the tree to look like it's behind it. And I could have stamped it first, but I didn't. So, and even though I can see a little bit of that cracked pistachio there, I could come in with some more rustic wilderness and dab over that so we won't see it as we go to dry things. Kind of force masking. Let's see. Oh, yay. Terry's finishing up class projects from Crop on the Cape. She just shared a beautiful bag that she stitched during Crop on the Cape. We have lots of different crafters that come. People who scrapbook, who make cards, who sew, who knit, who do mixed media. Tracy's doing some Copic cleaning. Now I'm just laying here listening to you. She had a treatment yesterday, so today's a bit rough. Well, I hope you feel better, Miss Tracy. And you could come do some Copic cleaning for me if you would like. My poor Copics. They need lots of love, but I haven't had time to do it. All right, so now I'm going to grab another stamp. Yuko says, this is very educational and informative. Another game changer moment for me. Well, thanks, Yuko. Using multiple colors for one tree. Thought you were creating all the shadows in depth with one color all this time. Sometimes I am, like we did with that first tree, but sometimes I'm not. You just never know. You never know what I'm up to. All right, this is a little tree. Let's see. For this one, I'm going to do Rustic Wilderness first. We'll add a little bit of that down first. Pick it up. And then let's give it some pine needles. And lay that down. So fun. Okay. I'm going to take a damp brush. We can also soak up some of this pooling of pigment if it's too much. So with a brush that doesn't have a lot of water on it, just place it down and you can see it just kind of absorbs it. I like to do that more with a brush than with my flour sackcloth because I have more control. So you can see how I'm just kind of picking up some of that pigment. So it's a little bit lighter in nature. All right, one more quick tree on the end here. And then we'll talk about the ground, which I really loved how the ground turned out. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. Barbara says, hi, Barbara. What a happy surprise to see you. Where can watercolor sticks be bought? Hi from Yorktown, Virginia. So, Barbara, these are Distress watercolor pencils. And Brianne just sent you a link to shop them. And I love them so much. And I was mentioning earlier, I actually have 2 online classes that you can take to learn and play and experiment with them too, with some guidance, which is really fun. All right, I'm flipping this upside down so I can go off the page over here. And we'll just grab one more tree. A little bit of overlapping. And I'm going to keep it light with cracked pistachio. So I almost thought today was April 1st, April Fool's, because I woke up this morning and we had a dusting of snow here on Cape Cod. Now, my dad, many of you guys know, and I grew up, he lives in New Hampshire. And I already knew he was getting snow because he was not a happy camper about it. But I thought we were just getting rain. And I woke up, like I said, to a white lawn. It was a very small dusting, and it's literally already gone, and we've got blue skies and sunshine. But I woke up and I was like, Chris is always up before me. And I was like, were you going to tell me that it snowed? And he was like, I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news. He knows me so well. But I almost thought it was like an April Fool's joke or something, right? All right, so I'm going to manipulate this pigment a little bit. It's kind of going down the center, and I'm kind of making it so the heavier amount of pigment goes down that right side. Using my paintbrush with a little bit more pigment on it, kind of bringing it all together there. And we'll go ahead and dry this, and then we'll do the ground. So Barbara, who's commenting, and she lives in Virginia, she just says she's been Jenn-abled. Well, Barbara's been taking my classes for a long time. She used to live in Massachusetts, and she used to shop at a store in Westford, Mass called Ink About It. And I used to teach there once a month, and she took many, many, many of those classes. All right, my best ever craft tape, because it was dirty, left a mark up here. So I'm just using my mono sand eraser very gently to see if this is how I want to take it off. I'm actually wondering, having a good plastic eraser also helps sometimes. Let me try that first. Oh yeah. It's honestly just like grime from using that piece of tape so many times over and over and over. And then what I'm going to just quickly do, again, just fixing my little mark problem, I'm going to pick up a little bit more speckled egg and kind of place it down, just what we used on the background. Grab a little water, kind of make it a little bit more fluid, looking a little bit more organic, not like I plopped it there. And then I'll go ahead and dry this. I think watercoloring is so much more forgiving than a lot of the other mediums that we use. And this is a good example of that. All right. Yeah, Brienne says, ooh, I thought we were done with snow. It was in the upper 70s on Sunday. Send that my way, Miss Brienne. Oh, Susan's in Norwood, Mass. Yeah, I would expect you guys would have it. She said she had a little dusting. I think it's Kathy, K.H. Crowley. I think your first name is Kathy, if I remember correctly. She says, I've taken Jenn's Distress Watercolor pencils. I learned so much. I use the techniques all the time. I love to hear that. Thank you. All right, so how pretty is this? And it was so simple, you guys, right? It looks like we're watercolor artists, but we're tricking the world, right? So now what I did is kind of a really fun, moody, and dramatic snowy ground, which I loved how this ended up turning out. So what I did is I actually used Stormy Sky Distress Watercolor Pencil. And I'm going to take my wet brush, pull that color from the tip of the pencil, and I'm going to just start by laying down a heavy amount of pigment right along the base of the tree line, wherever that is. And you want this really dark. So you'll see I'm even going back in and grabbing some more. And you want to move fairly quickly because you want it to kind of stay wet. You don't want it to dry on you. And again, you can decide where your ground is. So I'm not going to go up into this nook here. I'm going to kind of stop the ground. And I'm going back and adding even more pigment, a lot. And again, it is fairly wet. Okay. I'm going to thicken it up a little bit. I don't know why I'm holding it in the air and not on the table, but it's working for me. So I'm going to keep doing that. Okay. So now that we have a decent amount of that blue, of that stormy sky, right? What I'm going to do is take my paintbrush, add some water, and we're going to just start to pull that color down. Okay. Just like that. Clean your brush, because every time you pull, you're getting more pigment on your paintbrush. And now I want it to be somewhat clean. So I'm cleaning my brush, pulling some more water, and pulling again. And this is where it's going to kind of look like it's going into white, right? Blue to white. And I just loved how this turned out. I loved how dramatic it looked along the tree line, but then it just kind of feathered into, you know, a white snowy hill. See, I like snow on paper. I don't like real snow. But look how pretty that is. And then once we dry it, sometimes you'll get these really cool like little veins and such from the water. And I just love how this ended up looking. So now I'm going to use that Ranger heat tool. And you can kind of keep playing with it. You can even add a little bit more pigment as you're drying, whatever you want. There's no right or wrong way. And I promise you, the more you play and the more you experiment, you're going to learn what you can do with these. And that's probably why I use them so much, because I'm constantly discovering new things I can do, and I just have so much fun with that. Yeah, Nanette says, I love to watercolor and absolutely love, love, love the distress pencils. I agree. Tracy says, every time I see that flower sackcloth, I think it won't handle anymore. I'm always amazed. It's one hard worker. It really is. And the funny thing is I have 3 of them that all look this way, but I keep using them and I never wash them. Thank you so much, Renee. She says, my hair looks great. I noticed it yesterday on the meet and greet. Yeah, I chopped 7 inches off right before Crop on the Cape. That was me telling the world, I am ready for spring and summer. Bring it on. Yay, Susan says, I love this. That's so great. All right. So now it's dry, right? How fun. I just think it looks so great. All right, so the next thing we can do is get ready to do our sentiment. Now, I most certainly could have stamped this in an ink pad. I also could have stamped it in like Distress Oxide, but I actually am going to use my Distress watercolor pencils because I really just wanted to keep that nice watercolored look. So let's go ahead and do that. So this time, I think I am going to use the word Christmas. I often like to kind of switch up the sentiments, so I have a couple different cards to choose from when I'm filling them out for people. We've got plenty of room to work with, so I'm going to go ahead and just place this. This is Distress watercolor cardstock as well. And again, I'm just rubbing that stamp. I'm not sure I have stamped this word yet. It looks pretty new, so just kind of getting my oils on there. That's going to help hold the pigment. And then it might look like I used red, but I did not. I used worn lipstick. So I'm going to use worn lipstick again. I kind of liked that pop of pinky red on this color scheme of this card. And you can see I'm using that edge of the pencil. I'm not holding it up like a pencil. And we're going to just gently stamp it because we don't want it to get too blobby because we want to be able to read the word, right? Oh yeah, that's good. So now that I stamped it, MAS looks a little blobby, but let me actually take a clean brush, not a lot of water, and just kind of try to absorb some of this pigment. Take some of it away. Okay. And then we can start to manipulate this a bit, filling in areas. And again, I'm not filling it in because I didn't want it to look watercolored. I'm just kind of seeing where it might need some help. If I wanted it nice and perfectly solid, I would have picked an ink pad, right? So what I'll do with this MAS is the center of the A has watercolor in it, which is fine. But what I'm going to do is just take a little bit more worn lipstick and darken the actual letter so that center that filled in will be lighter. And I think that that will help. And I enjoy doing this. This is relaxing to me. This is fun. I'm experimenting. I'm kind of seeing how things are going. But if this part isn't your jam, again, you could just stamp with an ink pad, right? But I actually just kind of enjoy seeing what I can do, seeing what I can get out of this. All right, let's dry this, and then I might actually just do one more layer around that A. Thank you guys. So sweet. I didn't realize how much people would notice my haircut, but I guess when you chop off 7 inches of hair, it's very noticeable. I was saying that I wanted to be cool like Shari because she recently chopped off a lot of hair too. And she is my East Coast Fawny bestie. So, oh, I was going to dry this first before I add any more. So these bitty buzzwords, I see Brienne just linked. Jennabler alert, I will say they are on sale, which I love. And it's such a great set. It has so many options, so many mixes you can do. I think it's definitely a good one to have in your stash. And I also think they're great that you could use them to just stamp on the inside of your cards too, which I know a lot of people like to do that. I don't typically stamp on the inside of my cards because I'm usually writing a message and my handwriting's really big. So I kind of need all that space. But now I think that looks great. Again, there is watercolor in the center of the A, but it's much lighter than the actual letter part. So I think it works. So I'm just going to dry this and then die cut this out. And we have a couple little finishing, touching things we're going to do. I do try not to keep these, I try not to have these lives be too long, take up too much of your time. So I'm going to get out that die that says Christmas. Oh, that does not say Christmas. What was that word? Oh, cheers. It was under the other one that said Christmas. What's nice about the die set, you could get the die set on its own if you wanted, because you can die cut the sentiment out of cardstock or pattern paper, and you have the layer for it. I saw Christmas up here and just assumed, but it's actually down here. But what I was going to say is you want to just be a little careful when you are lining your dies up with watercolored bits and you're using your low tack tape, because it can take the watercoloring away. So whenever I put my tape down to hold my die in place, I make sure I'm holding the metal part. Oh my gosh, it's curling. There we go. holding that metal part down, right? I really press it onto the metal and the surrounding paper, but I'm not pressing the tape within my word or my image. You can always go back over it like we were just manipulating it anyways, but that's just an important tip. So I'm just going to quickly die cut this on my Spellbinders off camera here. There we go. We've got that word Christmas. So pretty. I love it. Okay. So the other thing I want to do is just some finishing touches. So I'm going to start by trimming this down. It's an A2 panel right now, 4¼ by 5½. So I'm just going to take 1/8 of an inch off of all 4 sides. I don't really measure 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going, my trimmer here, which I love this trimmer, has the 1/4 inch marks. I just go halfway in between those 1/4 inch marks. So now we're down to 4. And I could have just taken it all off of 2 sides, but when I was composing my trees and such, I like to kind of keep it centered with how I was originally stamping it. Okay. So now that we have that trimmed, I am going to grab my paper distressor, this little tool I've had for a million years and I love it. And I'm just rubbing it back and forth on the edges and it's just adding a nice texture. I just think it adds a lot and I do use it a lot. Brienne can attest to that. Especially when I'm just going to layer this onto a white card base. I just think it kind of sets it apart, not adding a lot of bulk to it. So you just kind of go back and forth. And again, it lasts forever, although it's almost like scissors. So you do misplace it sometimes. So I do have a couple of them just because of misplacing. See that fun texture it adds. Aw, thanks for trying, Melissa. The replay will be here. All right, so now we're going to add some snowflakes. And so to do that, we are going to use some white splatter. I like to use the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And I just use one of my Simon Says Stamp card kit boxes. And I'm just going to lay that in here. And you'll see on my face camera, I'm going to take my flour sackcloth and I drape it over me because I don't want to splatter my really cute shirk merch. So I kind of made myself a bib. Okay. Tucking it in. All right. I also have an apron, but I typically have my flour sackcloth closer by. So we're going to open this up. I'm going to grab my wet paintbrush, pull some of this white, and I actually just dab it on the cap. If I feel like I need just a little bit more water, I'll grab that. And then I hold my paintbrush horizontally over my project and I tap back about halfway back on the handle. So I just go and tap. And we're going to go ahead and add our snowflakes. No rhyme or reason. I do just know I want them everywhere because it's a snowy scene, right? Super easy way to add snow. Been in a splattering trend lately. We splattered in my class at Crop on the Cape a lot. We did a happy hour class. And then this past weekend, my online class, Flutter and Fabulous, we splattered. Splattering all of the things lately. And I've really enjoyed it. All right, let me grab a card base. It does take a minute for this splatter to dry. So I'm actually going to just use my Ranger heat tool to kind of speed it up. Doesn't take that long, but for the sake of the live, I kind of want to speed things along. Thanks, Terry. She says, I love how you use all the different greens. It really adds depth. And Shannon says, I need to buy the distressor. It's a really nice tool to have. I use it a lot on my mixed media cards because it just adds some really nice texture. I stock it in my online shop, but several places will have it. Yeah, the splatter really does make the scene. I agree. All right, so now that that's dry, I am going to go ahead and put some foam tape behind this layer to pop it up on my card base. We're in the final stretches. Those of you that joined me live today, I really appreciate you taking the time. And if you're catching the replay, I love that as well. All right. Brienne says, Jen has been in her paper distresser recently. I have. Brienne's been helping me catch up on blog posts of projects I've created for different brands and not gotten a chance to put them on my website. And so she's been linking all the supplies, so she knows I've been using that paper distresser a lot. But see how it just adds a little bit of texture to offset it from that white card base? And could I have inked my card base? Of course, but I was really trying to keep it very classic and airy, you know, not bring in too many more colors. All right, so now let's go ahead and add our sentiments. So I already white embossed my little words. Again, the little words comes from that same exact set. So there's a lot of different combos that you can do there. And I just white embossed on black cardstock. Sometimes I pre-do that. Sometimes I share with you guys how I do that. And we're just going to cut these into what I call is word fetty. So you can see I'm not using my paper trimmer. I'm just using my scissors to cut them into a rectangle. I like to use my scissors because it gives a little bit more of a whimsical feel than using your paper trimmer. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and start to adhere. I'm going to use Distress Collage Medium because we're going to use that for our glitter in a minute. But may all your I'm going to do that up here. So even though it's not going to be part of the rest of the sentiment, it's tied into the scene because it is touching the trees, right? Christmas, we're going to go ahead and pop up with some foam squares. Tracy says, I probably use that Tim Holtz Distresser on almost every card I do. I love that. Hey, go for it. Such an inexpensive tool that gives a whole lot, I feel. Ooh, Kathy says that she used the decal trimmer and then the distressor. Very fancy. I love that. Brienne is just so good at linking all the things. Let me just have a moment for Brienne. She's so great. Really appreciate her. All right, so I'm adding that word Christmas. May all your Christmas wishes come true. And then our word strip we'll do down flat. There we go. And now for the magic. You guys know there has to be a little sparkle. I mean, I do like to glitter all the things, but holiday cards, I literally cannot make without adding some sparkle. So what I'm using for this card is the Distressed Snowflakes. And so this was a seasonal item that Ranger came out with, that Ranger and Tim came out with this past fall. It's a mix of mica flakes and this really pretty frosty glitter. I love it so much. It's so perfect for your holiday makes. I do stock it in my online store. It is a seasonal item, so if people sold out, they don't have it anymore. I'm hoping that Ranger will come out with it again this coming holiday, but I wasn't sure. And I knew I'd be using it with Get Crackin' on Christmas throughout the year and maybe Janabling you guys. But again, it's just a really fun mix of mica flakes and this like frosty glitter. You can kind of see it on the cap there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add a very generous amount of Distress Collage Medium to the base of the trees. And again, I'll show you guys in a minute. It's a very thick amount of collage medium because I want it to hold the chunk. I want it to hold those mica flakes. Can you guys see that? Okay. It'll settle down, but we want it to be able to hold on to those mica flakes. Okay. So I am going to then take my spoonful and just start to sprinkle it on. And then I take my back of my spoon and I just gently press, not hard. I'm not smushing that line, but I'm just gently pressing. And then we'll tap it off. Now it has like a shimmer mica-y to it. So I just sometimes take a dry brush and just brush that part away. It kind of clings. But man, it makes the perfect snowy ground ever. This is kind of bothering me that it's like this big notch up. So I'm actually just going to add some more in here. I don't know. Now that it's there, it looked a little awkward. But we'll just add some more. Gentle tap. And tap off. And I store this in my glitter storage container. So I've got lots of room to kind of dump out the excess without making a mess on my desk. So right now the collage medium is white. It will dry clear, which is why I had to wait to take a photo of my card for this month. But once it's clear, like look how pretty that is. Just so, so pretty. It's really kind of the star of the show. Now, I know we just said that about the splatters, but I don't know. It might be the Distressed Snowflakes. All right, let's see. Yeah, frosty glitter. It's so pretty. Libby says, please put a Post-it on one of these cards to remember to send it to your friend Libby in December. Okay, thanks, bye. There's no purple though, Libby. There's no purple. Are you sure? Are you sure in March you want to decide which card is sent to you? I don't know. It seems kind of early. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yay. Well, let me know if you guys have any other questions. Before I let you go, I did already mention to you that there is still time to register for my Creative Journey Art Retreat. It's a virtual event, but registration is closing on March 30th, so don't snooze. Sign up. We are going to have so much fun creating 13 different cards with amazing, amazing products from all different brands. And then also coming up, I am traveling to Firefly Farm in Minnesota in April. I am teaching 2 exclusive Lawn Fawn classes there, Busy Buddies and Spring Showers. We're using some of the Lawn Fawn Spring release and some of the Lawn Fawn Spring 2 release that has yet to be released. That's why there's that little top secret square right there. I can't show you everything. And if you can't make it to Minnesota, but you are a Lawn Fawn fan, check out Firefly Farms Fawn Fest. That is a virtual event as well. I'm going to be teaching a make and take for that, and Shari is also going to be doing a make and take. There's some classes, there's some challenges. You get a fun goodie box in the mail. I have all of the details on my class page, which is linked there. So you can check it out. And as I said, get cracking on Christmas. I don't know why I sing it. I've been singing it for years now. It's not going away, but is always the third Thursday of the month. So the next Get Crackin' on Christmas is April 16th, 2026. That is when you will find my project posted on my website. And within that post, I will share when I plan to go live. I don't really plan the lives until then because life. But we will continue to make our holiday cards all year long. So come this fall, the only stress we have is to fill them out. I'm even trying so hard this year to make sure all of my Get Crackin' on Christmas cards go on card bases. That is partially why I trimmed it down, because by trimming it down, I forced myself to have to put it on a card base. Okay, let me see if I'm missing any questions. Yay. Kathy just signed up and sent the link to a friend. Yay. I'm guessing that's the Creative Journey Art Retreat. I always appreciate you guys spreading the word and helping me let new friends know about the classes and events that I share. Love that Tim and Ranger give us so many options to add sparkle. Me too. And honestly, last fall we got distressed snowflakes and we got distressed rock candy chunky. I think they were I think Ranger and Tim were in their glitter era last fall. I just felt like they were coming out with all the sparkly stuff for me. Yay, thanks so much, Yuko. I hope you feel better soon. Thanks for watching. You're welcome, Joanne. Thanks for being here. And I agree. Thank you, Brienne, for all the links. Tracy wishes she was traveling to Firefly Farm. I wish you were too. And I hope you feel better as well, Tracy. Yeah, Yuko says, one of these years, I want to attend your Firefly Farm in-person events. Firefly Farm is a great store. She's in Minnesota. She has paper crafting items, but a lot of gift items as well. And then across the street, she has a retreat center. So there also is going to be Lawn Fawn Soiree that same weekend. But I do believe that is sold out. So I was trying not to encourage anybody for that. You'll have to wait till next year. Thank you so much, Terry. And thank you, Susan. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your Tuesday. I hope you have a chance to get crafty this week. And again, I always appreciate you guys being here so much. Have a great day. Bye.